in Brooklyn. Tim Leonard here with you for the next hour. Plenty to cover after a crazy game. Looked like the Orange were going to get blown out by Texas. They were down by 16 early on in the second half and went to a lineup, just a couple substitutions in the second half, and the Orange maybe ran out of gas towards the end there. Some miscues at the end, but all in all, a very encouraging second half. By far the best half of basketball we've seen from this team through now 4 games this season. They do fall to Texas 70-66, the final score. The Longhorns hold on to beat the Orange despite scoring just 29 points in the second half from Texas. So the best defensive second half from the Cuse as well there. And we will be with you for the next hour or so here on the Burdick Postgame Show. We'll hear from Coach Autry, try and get some of his reaction to this one. And I'm sure you have plenty of thoughts after what turned into a very fun basketball game to watch there in the second half. Finally, it looked like Syracuse belonged on the court there with Texas, especially towards the final 15 minutes of that game. They were matching them punch for punch. The defense was really solid. You got to give it to them. They played with more energy and more defense of energy in that second half. So if you have thoughts, call in. 315-437-7644 is the phone number to call. Again, that's 315-437-7644 or 4ESPN44 is an easier way to remember that. Tim Leonard here with you. Get in the chat as well. We are on QSportsTalk.com. No breaks over there. We'll be chatting throughout the next hour or so over on the chat as well after this wild one. 70-66. Texas does hold off Syracuse to win it by 4. And we'll get your phone calls here in just a little bit. Some of the final stats from this one. The Orange end up shooting at 46% from the floor. That was 1 percentage point worse than Texas. After the second half, it really flipped. Texas shot it as a team in the second half just 33%. And in the first half, it was a totally different story. The Longhorns were 61% from the floor in the first half in this one. So they flipped the script in the second half. The Cuse were down by as many as 16 and did find a way to charge back into this game. Took the lead. There were some miscues. We'll definitely have to talk about the free throw shooting. 9 for 18 from the charity stripe in a game you lose by 4 in a nip and tuck game in the second half. The free throw shooting was killer from Syracuse. They once again could not make a 3 in this game. Started the game, their first 5 shot attempts were from 3. A lot of them were open looks, and then they started to play more inside out and didn't attempt a ton of threes in the second half. A couple of those desperation shots late, one from Lucas Taylor. The Cuse were 2 for 9 in the second half from 3. And as a team, we're 5 for 21 from distance in that game. So that's 24%. So much for this being a good three-point shooting team, at least through 4 games this season. They just seem tight. Some of those guys that you're expecting to shoot better just haven't been shooting great. So if you have thoughts after this game, I'm sure plenty of you do. Call in, 315-437-7644, and we'll kick off the phone calls tonight with our guy Pat in Syracuse. Pat, what's on your mind?
Yeah, cool venue, cool to see the Anthony's courtside, and great fight. The one weakness that this team had in the second half, first of all, people ripped Jay Williams. He made 3 solid points. The first one was when Syracuse was getting all the momentum, and they kind of went away from what they were doing, and he nailed that. He also nailed that they were settling. You had JJ settle for a 3 that he had the whole open lane, and then on the next possession, Bell, who hadn't found his rhythm, he hit that one corner 3, and then 5 minutes later, he took a forced contested 3, and he missed it right when Syracuse had Texas on the ropes. So those 2 possessions, and then JJ with his one turnaround that he could have. He kind of shot it to shoot instead of shooting to make the basket. There was no way when it left his hand that it had any chance to go in.
You're talking about the one with like a minute or so left?
No.
Okay.
No, I think it was like maybe 2 minutes left. I'm not sure. It was like a half turnaround where he was going one way.
He was in the lane, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
okay.
And he missed it. Yeah,
right.
It was just not a good. He made the next one on almost an impossible shot that went in. But But, obviously the free throws, part of it is these guys are playing minutes. I mean, Jay Williams' third point was they had like 2 or 3 substitutions with a couple minutes to go in the second half. So, then they started substituting. Now, I get it in Autry's defense. Lampkin was playing great. Davis was playing great. To me, the difference in the team, I think Davis is looking the part that we thought. Lampkin is looking the part that we thought. And Donnie's having a solid year, but just look across the way at Texas, and that's the difference. If we were getting some production similar to that,
that guy struggled though, right? Trey Johnson, you're talking about?
Well, yeah.
He still was their guy.
He just looks way smoother. Like, even on his misses, he looks smoother. And I don't think Donnie Freeman's going to step up and hit 7 straight free throws, which I believe Johnson did. So, he was 3 of 13 to start the game. I think he finished a little stronger than that. I don't have the box score in front of me. But, I'm talking about full body of work, too. He's
a player. Yeah, he was 4 for 18. I'm with you, though, on the free throws, although he's just a shooter. Donnie's a different type of basketball player. Are you upset that Freeman wasn't playing at all in the second half? Or where do you...
I think it's interesting that there wasn't a little more chop-up. I thought that was very surprising. I thought Taylor's defense maybe was why.
Yeah, for sure.
But I would. There's just not a lot of difference. I would like to see a rotation. There was a point that you could tell that Bell and Starling and Lampkin they got smoked on possession after possession after making the run. I thought you had to get those guys a breather, and it's not like there's a big difference, And I don't know. I think you can't go 0-2. And St. Joe's has got a lot of talent.
They do.
So if they lose, that's going to be a bigger game than this one, because if you can lead New York 1-1 after the lousy start in the Dome and then the lousy first half, I think you got to be happy and then just move on. And free throws are just awful, just atrocious.
Yeah, 9 for 18 from the line. All right, Pat, we appreciate you checking in. That is Pat in Syracuse. Let's keep the phone calls coming here. 315-437-7644 is the phone number to call. Let's go back to the phone lines right now. And we got Chris in the Cuse. Chris, what's on your mind?
How's it going? What's going to take for Autry to get his team playing from the get-go? He's not the answer for the SU University coach. I give him one more season. He just make the tournament with all that talent next year. He should get fired. They're missing.
That's your takeaway, Chris. After that second half, you're firing Autry. After that,
Autry doesn't know how to coach from the get-go. You beat Lemoyne by 2. You can't beat 4 points against. I can't drawing blank right now. They're missing Malik Brown. And missing. Jordan Manzik, I can score inside the lane. They don't have that this year. Nobody on his team plays any defense whatsoever. It's mental breakdown by Chris Brown at the end of the game. His shot selection is the reason why, they lost the game to fuel them. And David Starling, same thing. I don't know, coaching is
You're not happy with Starling even? It's like you didn't watch the second half, Chris. I hear you. It hasn't been a good start, but did you not see some encouraging things in the second half there?
SU, no offense to Texas, SU just beat themselves from the get-go. How they start like that from the beginning? This has been a different game. They started starting for the threes from the get-go. I knew it was going to be, a long game because of the way they don't play defense. They have to catch up and,
All right, Chris.
I'm just saying, yeah.
I just don't say, to get on Starling of all players, too. I thought Starling was great tonight.
I think he shot too much. I think he was kind of forcing too much by 3-pointer. That's not his game. He should go more. I'm sorry. He didn't drive as much as he should have.
All right, that is Chris. He's not happy. I feel like that was a phone call I thought I was going to be getting at halftime, but then after watching the second half, I didn't think we were going to get any fire red phone calls. Let's go to Dave in Syracuse. I think Dave's got some positives for us. What do you got, Dave?
I am very happy with this. Even though we lost, I am very happy. I consider it a win in my book. We didn't get blown out. This team could have lost by 20, 30 points the way they were playing. And I've seen people say, fire red. He made an adjustment. We switched to the zone. We are a better zone team than we are man. There's no doubt about it. The free throws ultimately cost us. I am seeing this team starting to grow. Now, are we where we need to be? Absolutely not. But we will get there. We hung around. We had a logistic chance to win this game, and it cost us. I will take 1-1 if we can win tomorrow. I will take that as a win for a Syracuse fan. And hopefully we can beat Cornell, and then 5-1 going into Tennessee, and see where it goes. I mean, maybe we can even hang with Tennessee. I mean, this team showed they can play together. They got to work on their free throws. That is number one.
Yeah, that was the problem coming into the game here tonight. We appreciate you checking in, Dave, in the Cuse. So he I don't know what he maybe had a Monster Energy or something. He was flying through that phone call. But Dave bringing some positive energy. I think that's what we need right now is after a second half like that from Syracuse. Yes, the free throw shooting was not good. Got to clean that up. It doesn't take anyone that has to be like some rocket scientist to figure that out. That is something that you point to right after this game. Frustrating to see a turnover late. Carlos thrown to the corner. Bell's not there. There are some things to clean up. This team is a work in progress. Red has said that from the outset. But overall, there were some positives there. And you go into tomorrow night's game, and it probably will be St. Joe's. You got to play well to beat St. Joe's. St. Joe's is right around Syracuse in the KenPom rankings right now. But I think from what we saw, that was the best half Syracuse has played by a mile. I know they did some nice stuff in the second half and overtime against Youngstown State, but that's Youngstown State. So this was Texas. I'm not overly impressed with Texas. I thought they did go cold, and they don't really have a guy that can break you down off the dribble besides Trey Johnson. So I'm not so sure Texas is a top 25 team after what I saw tonight. But Syracuse hung around, and last year's team, down 16, did not have the ability outside of the Colgate game to come back, really. We saw them get down. They got down on themselves. It snowballed, and from there it was a lot of blowout losses. So some encouraging stuff. We do have to hit our first time out here on the Burdick Postgame Show. We will get to Tony in North Carolina. Hang on the line. We'll get to your phone call as we return from break. And if you want to chime in, 315-437-7644 is the phone number to call. Hop in the chat as well. It will be no breaks on CuseSportsTalk.com. Stay with us here, though, on CuseSportsTalk.com and ESPN Radio.
Let's go! Game day radio coverage of Syracuse football.
Yeah, that was a couple interesting phone calls back-to-back there. I was trying not to laugh. Helium Dave was even more, I just felt like he was racing through his points even more than normal. I think our guy, who was that, Chris, right? I think he had made up his mind what he was going to say on his phone call at halftime. Donnie did look smooth. It's puzzling because the lineup was good in the second half. The whole first half, I was saying we got to play Donnie more. And then as the second half was happening, you can't really blame Red too much for sticking with that lineup. I will say I think he falls in love from our experience of Red Autry as head coach. He has very consistently played a similar lineup with minimal substitutions in the second half. I don't have it in front of me, but I feel like last year we were saying the same stuff. And I don't know if they necessarily got tired. I mean, you would think of all the guys to get tired, it'd be Lampkin, because we've talked about his conditioning and stuff more than anyone else. He didn't look tired, and they called some smart timeouts late in the second half to kind of give the guys a breather. But, yeah, I would have liked to maybe seen a little bit more Donnie. He's just so talented. Bell also, I'm with you, Mike. I mean, he was getting beat weak side on those rebounds a ton. He hit that three, but it just never really, I don't know. Chris Bell's been off all year. They need him to get going. Because you think about what they're getting from the starters. Now, Carlos, that's a whole nother story, but let's talk about like the main guys that we thought going into the season. Starling, I think, has been great. I mean, like he's taken a leap up like you were calling for. Lampkin, I think, has been, he has his flaws. He's not a perfect player. He gets exposed in pick and roll, and that's going to be a problem. But overall, like, you got to be happy with what Lampkin and Starling are giving you. And the team has still been a little bit under expectations when you consider the whole body of work, but that second half was encouraging. You want Lampkin not even starting? Hard for me to see that. He just does so much for you on offense. Yeah, this is McDonald's All-American JJ right now. I think if I was coaching the team, which obviously I'm not, but I would start Starling at the point guard and play Carlos less. I think Carlos does do some nice stuff as like a passed on the ball, and I'm not like totally giving up on him, but I mean, he airballed that 3 in the first half. He just looks like it's a little, I don't want to say it, but it's a little Justin Taylor-y, like from last year, where you just feel like he's in his head right now, and maybe the cases stay with him, but I mean, you got to beat St. Joe. Like, I might just, start a different lineup. And I haven't been the biggest Lucas Taylor fan, but he does give you some good stuff on defense, way more than Elijah Moore can. So I probably would have liked to have seen more of Elijah Moore, though. No pun intended. Yeah, Carlos is just small. I don't know. It's a bummer because he looked good in the exhibitions, but obviously different level of competition. Yeah, I'm with you, Mike. I'd probably start Taylor. I can't believe I'm saying that because, he doesn't do much for you. I mean, nothing for you on offense, really.
Noon to 2 on your home for local sports talk, ESPN Radio. This is the Burdick Lexus and Burdick BMW postgame show.
Back here on the postgame show. About as happy of a postgame show as we've had in a while after a loss. I know there's no moral victories in Syracuse basketball. I say that after we did have a phone call in the first segment saying fire Coach Autry, but that's just par for the course here in Syracuse. You're always going to get some of that. That's even if they won the game, that phone call probably would have come in. Shout out to our guy Chris in Syracuse who called in basically saying, I've had enough of Red Autry after what was a very solid second half from Syracuse. I don't think Texas is as good as maybe we thought. But the Orange fell by just 4 points. They pretty much dominated the second half. They showed you way more on defense than we've seen at any point this year. And some of that is the flaws from Texas and Texas missing open shots there. But you got to feel a lot better about this team, I think, than you did, especially at halftime. But I feel better about this team at the end of tonight than I did at 6:59 or 7:04 or right before the game tipped off tonight. And that was a fun game to watch. It just felt like Syracuse sort of rose to the occasion there, and that was the question mark. Would they play up to competition a little bit? They did in the second half. There are no moral victories. They lost the game, a game that they very well could have won, and it stings because you really would like to see this team get back to the NCAA tournament. You have to get back to the NCAA tournament for it to be considered a successful season, of course, and that is a game that would have held up very nicely. Quad 1 win, maybe quad 2, something in that neighborhood if they were able to get the win. But let's go back to the phone lines. We're here for the next 40 minutes or so. 315-437-7644 is the phone number to call. And let's go to Tony in North Carolina, who is waiting patiently. What's up, Tony?
Hey, thanks for taking my call. I do agree with you. There are things that they need to clean up. The other thing I'm going to say is also free throws. Those are important. Mm-hmm. And want to rebut the comment of that caller that called about firing Red. That to me is just ridiculous. We're 4 games into the year and already we're listening to this stuff. Now, I lived up there, had season tickets, moved down here, and even down here, I still hear the fire coaches up there. It's just crazy. I just want to, kind of call that out a little bit. Maybe a little bit of patience here. After all, that team needs to gel. They're not used to playing together. How many transfers do we have in the starting lineup? I mean, and a freshman. So, come on.
4 new freshmen, 3 new transfers. So it's a new team for sure. Yeah.
There you go. And
good points. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for taking my call.
All right, Tony from North Carolina. I love it. He did the reverse of me. I started in North Carolina, went up to Syracuse. So he's got the better weather right now. But Tony with some good points there. Talking some sense into Chris in Syracuse. I'm just going to be ragging on Chris in Syracuse the rest of the night, I guess, is where we're heading. Let's stay with the phone calls. Let's check in with Steve in North Syracuse. Steve, what do you got after this one?
Well, my first comment is that I wonder how many callers would still have their jobs if they were evaluated by the standards they apply to coaches.
Right. Not many.
Now, I looked at the first 4 minutes of this game. These are our possessions. Carlos missed a tray. Bell missed a three-pointer. Bell missed a three-pointer. Bell turned it over. Starling turned it over. Freeman missed a three-pointer. Starling missed a three-pointer. That was our first.
Yeah.
That was our first 7 possessions of the game. We were down 0-9. And I thought to myself, you have to play defense to make comebacks. You can't get comebacks without stops because you got to outscore the other team the rest of the game. And how are we ever going to come back from a 0-9 start? Well, we did eventually start playing defense with a passion that I hadn't seen thus far this year, and the team was playing together on both ends of the court. And, if they can remember how much fun it was to play the game that way and carry that on into other games, and we could still have a very good season here. But we lost the first 4 minutes 0-9, won the rest of the game 66-61, and that's with all those missed free throws. So it was a game with a lot of upsides, a lot of downsides. Now, Lampkin really deserves a lot of credit because I think he really led the comeback with his play, moving all around, making passes, going inside and scoring, actually playing pretty good defense, and apparently doing it in a great deal of pain. From what I saw, he was really limping.
Yeah.
And the other comment I have is Chris Bell. I thought Chris Bell might explode this year as a really great all-around player, and he is showing some things that we didn't see him do in the past. But he's not shooting the ball very well. And, well, he can make great defensive plays, especially on the fast break. There are also a lot of lapses, and really the game ended when he didn't go to the corner on that late possession, which is where, obviously, Starling thought he was going to be because it's Bell's favorite spot, and Bell just stopped and let the ball go out of bounds, and after that, it was very difficult to make the comeback. So I was really disappointed in Chris Bell.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of that, Steve. I did not think the reason why Syracuse, one of the main reasons they would lose this game tonight is because Chris Bell did not go to the corner. That's where he's lived in his 3 years with Syracuse. It's frustrating with Bell. I agree. He is doing some stuff that we haven't seen, and I had some stats on this before the last game. I don't know if they're updated yet, but Hoop Math is a site that sort of tracks how often are you shooting at the rim. And going into this game, I believe it was right around 40% of Chris Bell's shots were at the rim this year compared to about 10% combined in his first 2 years at Syracuse. Now, will that stay near that mark? Probably not as competition gets tougher here. But the thing with Bell that's frustrating is he's now a veteran on this team. He's the only guy that was coached by Jim Boeheim and Red Autry. He's the only guy that's been at Syracuse now for 3 years. He's the guy that should know your system and everything. And it's the same conversation we've had with him where he misses an open three to start the game and he gets down on himself. And you just got to learn to play through that. And maybe he's never going to learn to do it. But even if, after he makes the mistake there where he doesn't go to the corner and it was Carlos who threw it to the corner and it's a turnover, it's frustrating to see him show a little bit of attitude there where it's like this game is still hanging in the balance. Let's create some positive energy. I know that play didn't go the way you wanted. Everyone's going to be upset when a play doesn't go the way you wanted, but he's just demonstrative sometimes in showcasing that. And it is frustrating because that's a veteran guy that he's supposed to be a leader of this team, and he's still doing some stuff that upsets you in that regard. So that's my point on Bell, and a good point there from Steve on the lack of two-point attempts early. I wrote it down. They did not attempt a two-point field goal until 15-12 in the first half. There had been 2 TV timeouts before their first attempted two-point field goal. They did not make a two-point field goal until 13-10 remaining in the first half, and that was Naheem McLeod with an and one. So I didn't have McLeod as one of the first guys off the bench. And we can talk, too. We got to hit a break here, and if you have thoughts on this one, 315-437-0099. 7644 or 4 ESPN 44 is the phone number to call in here after the Orange fall to Texas 70-66, the final score. Let's talk a little bit about what we saw from the defense tonight, mixing and matching zone in there as well, and we'll hopefully hear from Coach Autry as we roll along here on our Burdick postgame show. Stay with us on CuseSportsTalk.com and ESPN Radio.
The three.
What do we got with the chat? I can't keep up. You guys are going fast. I think the lineup is J.J. Taylor, Donnie, Jair, Lampkin. That's a lot of bigs, though, right? I think you got to I mean, the thing, and Steve, I agree with him when he said, the thing Chris Bell isn't doing right now is making shots. Well, that's kind of encouraging that, I mean, he's going to hit shots. Like, I know it's frustrating to watch him get down on himself, and as I said, we're still dealing with that, but he'll start making some shots. So you can't, like, give up on Bell. It's the same thing with Freeman. I'd like to see just a couple more rotations there in the second half because, you know, there's been so much chatter about this is a deeper team. I get riding the hot hand, but I think you want to keep a guy like Freeman confident as a freshman. You want to keep Moore confident as a freshman. Yeah, the ACC not off to a great start. The bigger lineup, though, it just depends. I mean, who you're playing and everything, but for this game, it's not like Texas. Shedrick is 6'11", but it's not like he's some imposing threat. I mean, they were kind of going down low to Lampkin and had that size advantage, but they have too many shifty guys at positions 1 through 4 to throw out 3 front court guys against Texas. I don't know if Syracuse played the same Govendo. I do think Texas isn't quite as good as we think. I'm still not. I think tomorrow night is definitely going to be a close game. I'm not overly confident that this team has like suddenly figured things out, Syracuse, but I mean, at least they showed you something there in the second half. And, you know, it was against Texas, who has talent, and they were able to get some stops. I think you can't say it was the exact same first half to second half. Eddie cannot jump. I think Kevin Brown said he's 6'10" with a 6'11" reach or something like that, which is a pretty good line. He's below the rim, as some of our callers don't like watching. Freeman being on the bench down the stretch is a travesty. Yeah, I guess T-Take's like, who would you have taken out? Chris Bell? Is that what you're going to say? And keep Davis, Bell, or Davis, Freeman, and Lampkin? I think they should have played Donnie Freeman more. And I'm a little frustrated that you just didn't use him at all in the second half, but I don't really know if I would have messed with the front court the way Davis and Lampkin were playing. And they're just veteran guys, too. Chance Westry's first game, I have no idea. Probably a couple minutes against Cornell that's probably on the optimistic side even. It just takes time, guys. I know everyone wants him, but he's practicing. He looks to me like he's healthy, but you got to get it. I mean, keep in mind, he has not played like against other guys very much, and it takes time to work your way back. I think it's just underrated how you got to get into game shape. Yeah, I would say maybe a little bit against Cornell, but I don't think we can like get on like why is Westry on the roster yet though? I mean, it's not like he's taking up a spot or something. You have the roster spot, and you know he'll get in there. I'm confident that he'll be a factor this season. I don't know, Steve, what his illness was. I don't know anything outside of he was not practicing for a while. He had a setback, and now he has started practicing with the team. But I mean, I go to some of the practices, and it's not like he's a world beater. I know that there was a lot of positive stuff from him last year, but he's still working his way back in. McLeod has practiced really well, and here in some time tonight, and I thought did solid. I'm not sure, Steve, if it was injury or illness. I haven't asked. I mean, I don't really care either way.
BMW Postgame Show.
All right, we roll along with the postgame show. Going late into the evening here on CuseSportsTalk.com, ESPN Radio. Phone lines are open after Chris in Syracuse with the early phone call of the year maybe on the postgame in a bad way. But, Chris, if you're still listening, please keep calling in. But, you know, let's have some sense here after a positive game from Syracuse. Positive second half from Syracuse. I'll say that. Much better second half. Texas is a good team. Texas was favored to win this game by, I think, 9.5, 10 points, somewhere in that neighborhood. Heck, the Orange might even go up in KenPom after a game like that. I didn't know that was possible to play a game and go up in the KenPom ranking. So if you have a thought on this one, 315-437-7644 is the phone number to call. That's 4ESPN44. We will hear a little bit from Red Autry in just a little bit here, get his thoughts after the game on the Syracuse Sports Network broadcast from Learfield. We'll check in with Coach on his thoughts in just a little bit here. But I do want to talk some about what we saw defensively. And, you know, I have been to some of the practices this year, not all of them by any stretch of the imagination. I go when there is a game day that I'm working, I try to get there for the practice before that. So let's say it's 3 or 4 this year. And I will say the team has practice zone at the end of that practice, not like a ton, but at the end of every practice I've been at this year, they have worked in some 2-3 zone. This was the first time we saw a 2-3 zone at all in this game, and it came clearly as part of the game plan very early on. Now, it was spurred on a little bit earlier, maybe because they were down 9-0, and Texas jumped out to a start that was a nightmare start here for Syracuse, and they were able to get back in the game. We're down by 16 at one point. I'm not ready to say, I think we had a caller earlier, and I can't remember who it was, that the zone kind of changed the game, or the zone is the better defense. I didn't necessarily have that takeaway after this game, because when they played their best stretch of defensive basketball, which also coincided with Texas going cold on offense and certainly missing some open looks and Texas having some flaws offensively in the second half, but Syracuse played their best stretch of defensive basketball in this game in man-to-man defense. They really didn't play any zone hardly at all, maybe sparingly in the second half. In fact, I remember when they cut it to a 6-point game. That was right when Eddie Lampkin did his high five with Kyan and Mello, which was cool to see. They were there at Barclays tonight. And look, at halftime, I was thinking, man, Kyan is probably shaking his head a little bit about the product in front of him. But he has to be thinking, leaving Barclays tonight, man, if I was out there, we might have won that game. So that's encouraging that they at least showed some flashes here in the second half and were right there against Texas. Just free throw shooting, a big part of why the Orange didn't win this game. But they came out of, after the Lampkin sort of pumped up high five moment, they're down by 6. There was a break. This is probably under 8 timeout, if I'm remembering correctly. They came out and they played zone for the first possession out of timeout, and it was like the easiest bucket Texas got in the second half. And I was sort of screaming at the TV, no, why are we changing? Like, it's not like the zone change was spurred on by the defense was struggling. They were in the midst of, I believe, a 12-2 run, a 7-0 run, I think, as well at that point. And Texas was struggling offensively in the second half. And they played zone for a possession. And then I watched the coaching staff, and they all made sure to signal 1, which is a change to their one defense being man-to-man, after they went down and scored when they were getting back on defense for their second possession out of that timeout. It was pretty clear that they wanted to alert everyone that, hey, let's go away from that. Let's go right back to man-to-man, which I thought was the appropriate move. I don't think they should have been playing zone late in this game. The way that Texas was struggling on offense against man-to-man in the second half. Now, will Syracuse play some zone this year? Absolutely. I think that is definitely going to be a part of the game plan. How much will be dependent on the matchups. I do think what they did tonight, sort of mix and matching some zone. You get Naheem McLeod in there for, I don't think we're expecting McLeod to be too much of a factor here, but he's rim protection on a team that really lacks rim protection. I know Eddie Lampkin is a big, but he is not a rim protector. Lampkin had 5 blocks all of last year. Chris Bell probably already has 5 blocks this year, and he's a guard. So McLeod, 8-10 minutes in an ideal world, playing a lot of zone. I'm cool with that. I don't think he can play zone with Eddie Lampkin as the anchor of the zone, and we saw them struggle when they did go to that look at times. So how much zone will they play going forward? That'll be dependent on matchups. But Red Autry, they have been practicing zone, and that is going to be, I would guess, a part of zone throughout the tenure here for Coach Autry. Regardless of what their defense is, I think he likes the idea, and I haven't talked to him directly, but remember last year they did the out-of-bounds plays? It was always zone. They have not done that at all this year, and I don't know what the analytics were on that last year or what spurred that, but clearly they've gone away from that. But they are going to keep practicing zone, I'm guessing, and it is going to be a wrinkle to have on this team. And it's amazing that 2-3 years ago, we had callers saying, get away from zone, and now there are some that are saying, we need to play more zone, and zone was the reason Syracuse got back in the game. I still think the team's ceiling would be reached more frequently if they are playing man-to-man defense. This is a team that, if they are doing the right things, better help defense, they should be able to get some stops. And we finally saw a little bit better energy on the defensive end in the second half here. After the first 3 games were a nightmare, and the first, I can call it 3.5 games, were a nightmare defensively. Now, the zone did look good a little bit in spots, but I don't think I would like them to continue what they did tonight. Mix and match, ride the hot hand. Flash some zone, which out of the timeout, maybe it throws teams off a little bit, especially when they're thinking about a play. A lot of coaches are trying to dial up a play on an ATO. If you go to zone, that kind of throws it out the window. So that's partially why I think the motivation was last year with the out-of-bounds plays. A lot of coaches have 5 or 6 plays they go to out of bounds. If you go to zone, that kind of makes it so they have to go to a different offensive set, or they can't use that play a lot of the times. So Syracuse isn't doing that this year, 2-3 zone, but they have been practicing it. And I remember Chris Bell, you can go back and find this comment probably. ACC Media Day was on the Field of 68 preview show for the ACC. Chris Bell and J.J. Starling were chatting with the guys of the Field of 68. And they posed a question to him kind of saying like, you know, how's it not playing zone this year? Like, you guys are all man-to-man. And that's the talking point with Syracuse, right? It's all man-to-man to the general observer. And Chris was like, we're always going to have a little bit of zone. That's always going to be a part of Syracuse, and I think it should be that way. That was something to the effect of what he said. I'm paraphrasing, but they have been practicing zone, and I think zone will be a wrinkle going forward, and I think it should be. Although I don't think it was like some revelation coming away from this game that stop the man-to-man completely. Let's play strictly zone. I'm not there yet. Could we get there at some point? Maybe. Because, again, I just don't think Texas really showed you much offensively in this game. They had one guy, Trey Johnson, going into this game that was a bulk of their scoring, 24 points per game, and he went cold in the second half especially. Give credit to J.J. Starling, who was guarding him a lot of the game. Give credit to Lucas Taylor, who was on him some. But Johnson's a freshman who just, in his first big college basketball game, I know they played Ohio State in the opener, so, I mean, he did go off in that game. So maybe I should call it his second. But this was a different level of sort of intrigue. Barkley's, Melo's in the front row, all that. It's almost like a road environment with Syracuse and the contingency they have there at Barkley's. So, yeah, I thought the man-to-man showed strides in the second half, and I wouldn't, want them to play 80% zone tomorrow night or something like that. By the way, I should be keeping tabs on that St. Joe's game that is in progress right now because St. Joe's, of course, is playing Texas Tech, and that game will decide who the Orange are playing tomorrow night. Try and pull up the score here as we're talking. We'll give you a score update. It is 17-15. St. Joe's is ahead at basically the midway point of the first half there. So maybe it'll be Texas Tech. The Orange, I thought we're going to play St. Joe's. We'll see. That game still early on. St. Joe's is right around the Cuse on Ken Palm entering tonight, about 100. They did beat Villanova, lost to Central Connecticut. They're 3-1 on the year. Texas Tech has played literally nobody. I don't know how these Big 12 teams do it. They really help out their net rankings. I guess Texas is now in the SEC, but they help out the net ranking with just playing no one. And I know Syracuse didn't really play anyone, and they still didn't, but gosh, they at least played Youngstown State, who's under 200 on Ken Palm. Some of these teams just play no one. And Texas Tech, I feel like every year has kind of done that. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe someone will fact check me on that. But we'll hit our final break here on the postgame show. We'll hear some from Coach Autry, get his thoughts after this one. And if you have a phone call or a thought after this one, you can call in here, 315-437-7644. We're back after this on CuseSportsTalk.com and ESPN Radio. Yeah, win tomorrow, and that's solid. 4-point loss and win. I mean, especially if it's Texas Tech, that'd be a nice win to bag. Yeah, we only had one fire red call. That's not even that many, really. Yeah, let's see. Who did Texas Tech play? I looked at it earlier today. Of course, Texas, too. I'm talking like bottom of the barrel. So Texas Tech is 10 on Ken Palm. Sure, their net ranking will come out great when it's revealed. They played Bethune-Cookman, 280 on Ken Palm. Northwestern State, 292 on Ken Palm. Wyoming, 213 on Ken Palm. And then Big Bad Arkansas Pine Bluff, who is 362 on Ken Palm. I didn't even know there were 362 schools, honestly. So, yes, I mean, Syracuse played Lemoyne, is like 340, and then they played Colgate, who is not as good as they have been on paper, and I don't think they will be quite as good as they have been recently. But, I mean, the fact that, like, the Orange are still playing Colgate after they've challenged, I know it's like a rivalry and everything, but I don't know. There's just not a ton of benefit to playing Colgate, and they're still playing those teams, whereas everyone else, not everyone else, but a lot of these teams are just, like, easing into it. And, you know, that can backfire. Like, they might lose to St. Joe's because they just haven't played anyone. But I don't know. I think Red has scheduled pretty well, and I just wish that like, benefited you. I just wish margin of victory wasn't weighted so heavily in the net. I don't really understand it. Scottie Pippen, Arkansas Pine Bluff, yeah. But he's not on the team right now. They're not good. Too positive of a game to get too many callers, I guess. They all came flooding in, and then they went night-night. Yeah, free throw shooting really rough, Edna. They are shooting. I'm on Texas Tech's page still. Texas Tech is shooting 68% from the floor. Oof. Against Big Bad Arkansas Pine Bluff. Okay, Jordan, I got you. I was going to look up Syracuse's free throw percentage. Syracuse 102 on Ken Palm. They went up 5 spots. Look out. Did they update this? Free throw percentage 61%, 333rd in the nation. That might be before tonight's game. But yikes. The other thing is, got to get some steals. This team just can't get steals. I am Alphabet Guy. Feeling better for sure. All right. Jordan, I'll go to that when we get back. Thank you. We'll have Red's presser, guys, when we get back. We got a caller, too. We'll see. We're going long now. Yeah, they've got to be like the worst power conference team right now in free throw percentage. They also have the worst power conference defensive efficiency on Ken Palm, which maybe that'll change, but it's kind of crazy. Defense went up to 145, so I think that's still the worst, but it was like 160 something. Whatever that's worth. Higher GMAC, yeah. Fire Red, higher GMAC.
This is the Burdick Lexus and Burdick BMW postgame show.
We roll along on the postgame show. One last segment here. We will get to Red Autry's full press conference from the Barclays Center very shortly. Hang around for that. You can watch it on CuseSportsTalk.com. After all these games, we try to get you Red live for the home games and get you the road postgame pressers as soon as possible. Didn't feel like a road game tonight with the Orange contingency, as always, showing out at the Barclays Center. Before we get to Red, let's get one more quick phone call in here, and let's go to our guy, Gavendo. Gavendo, what's on your mind after this one?
Did somebody really say fire red?
Yes, somehow, yeah. I mean, it was one caller. I mean,
that's bananas.
That's just what happens.
Bananas.
It's Syracuse, man.
The dogs hate that call. They hate that call.
Yeah, they heard fire red and they got mad.
Listen, they played good in the first half, or they played bad in the first half. They played great in the second half. But they're not going to be able to do that in the ACC night in and night out. They have to come out ready to play.
Yeah. I think they were tight at the start. I mean, it's not like they got bad. I know they were settling for threes, which it's annoying because if you're Syracuse, if you're a player, you were told to shoot threes all throughout the year because this was supposed to be a good three-point shooting team. But you go back and you watch back those first 5-6 shots they had. It's not like anyone forced up a shot, but they're just in their head about three-point shooting right now, I think. I mean, outside of Starling, no one made a three, I think, for the first 20 or so minutes of this game.
Yeah, Chris tried a couple times. It just didn't work out for him. What's your thoughts on Carlos?
I don't know. I think at this point, I would probably take him out of the starting lineup. I think he did some...
Just let JJ take the ball?
Yeah. I mean, he's just small. I want him to work. I think he does some decent stuff, and I don't think you totally give up on him, or I think he will be a part of the rotation going forward. And he's an unselfish guy, but I mean, I just didn't think he was going to make those free throws late in the game tonight. And he airballed that three,
Yeah, that was just terrible. Listen, JD at the 1, Bell at the 2, Freeman at the 3, Jair Davis at the 4, Lampkin at the 5.
I think that's our 5 best players, but I don't know, man. You would get carved up by some guards with that lineup, though, right? If you're playing man-to-man.
They obviously got to get better on defense, or we're going to be in a world of hurt.
Yeah, I just don't know if the answer think about what was the biggest issue in the first 3 games. Guards getting to the basket, penetrating nonstop. I don't know if the answer is going to 3 front court guys to solve that,
I get it, but you gotta. I think you gotta have your best players on the court. Their worst thing was they can't play help defense. So guys were blowing by. They're blowing by our players, and then Lampkin's doing a 360 in the middle of the lane. This is last game or the game before, but I'm just saying in general, you can't have that. It's not going to work. You know what I mean? You have to do something.
Yeah, as much as I haven't loved Lucas Taylor, I think you still need to have a guard out, because you're talking about they can't play help defense. It's not like Jair Davis is going to be some quick help defender, or Donnie's hasn't looked good defensively.
I think I'm mainly looking for the 5 to step up and be quick on his feet. And I mean, I know what we're working with, but we got it. We need a presence in the middle.
Yeah, well, if you are asking for that, then you probably want more of McLeod, right? But anyway, Gavendo, I agree with you. I just don't know if defensively that lineup is good enough with 3 front court players against a team like Texas especially. And there's a lot of teams in college basketball that just can play 5 out now and have guys that can break you down off the dribble. So
I respect it. Thanks, Tim. Appreciate your time.
All right, that's Gavendo. Good phone call there. He didn't ask for Coach Autry to get fired, so we like that. If you call in and you have sound points, we will hear you out. And we didn't totally agree, but I agree a little bit with what Gavendo said there. All right, let's go to Red Autry. Here is his full press conference after the 70-66 win tonight from Texas.
There's no consolation prizes. We had a chance to win the game, and we didn't, and that's on us. That's on me. Turnovers at the end and, miss rebounds, what we talked about. We didn't get those done at the end. And free throws. We battled back, and again, this is frustrating, and I'm tired of it. It's just, disappointing. right from the beginning of the year. You know, we have an expectation, we have a standard for ourselves, and we haven't played that way yet. You know, I thought the second half today, it was finally the defense was good. You know, we held them to 29 points. That's good. You know, but we got to finish the game out, and we just got to learn how to win. And you know, we don't know how to win yet. We got to stop letting our offense dictate our defense, and that's just the bottom line. And so we got to get back and get ready for tomorrow, and you know, keep getting better. This is a progress. This is going to be a progress. But it's, you know, I'm not satisfied. No one is satisfied in that locker room. You know, we have our own standard. You know, the record, no one else on the outside. We have our own record and standard. And I don't go out there and talking about it, but we know what we need to do. And we're just disappointed because we, you know, again, we played against a really good Texas team. You know, we battled back, and you know, we just didn't make the plays that we needed to make at the end of the game. And that's disappointing because that was on us. And the stuff that we talked about and stuff that we can control. Rebounding the basketball, that was big. You know, 2 putbacks at the end. That was the game, and our free throws. Questions?
Coach, no moral victories, obviously, but, you know, you come in as 10.5-point underdogs, and you had some very close games with, I don't want to talk bad about anybody, but maybe some lesser opponents, and then you come out and play a really good Texas team tonight, and your team fought, and you were in it until the very end. What did you learn tonight? What did your guys learn tonight?
That we didn't get it. You know, we had a chance to win, and we didn't get it done. At the end of the day, we got to get it done. And we just, you know, we didn't get it done. You know, every game is different. You know, I think everyone that follows basketball and knows sports, every game is different. And, you know, today, again, you know, they responded. They did respond. But it's just not good enough. You know, we have to be able to, you know, close that game out when we battle back in. And it's just the little things, free throws, rebounding. You know, that's disappointing.
Coach, we're starting to see, especially in the start of that second half, Donnie Freeman starting to get a bit more acclimated to the college game. Where have you seen in his growth the most improvement as he starts to get acclimatized to the college game?
You know, I thought Donnie did a good job of, you know, finishing around the basket. I think that's the biggest thing that he's done is finish around the basket. But still, you know, it's a lot more to go. You know, I would say that's the only thing that I've really seen right now. You know, still a work in progress. You know, again, he's a talented young man, one of the more talented young guys we've had in a while. And he's productive. He makes things happen. But, you know, it's 2 ends, you know, and we got to keep getting better on the other end of the floor. And that's just for our whole team. It's not just him, our whole team. And, you know, I thought, you know, some other guys came in today and gave us a lift, and it kind of solidified that. But, you know, Donnie's been really good. You know, he's still, you know, getting better, you know. But I think the biggest thing is him finishing around the basket has really been impressive.
Adrian, what changed in the second half? What were the major differences in how your guys were playing the game out there? And also in the second half, did you feel like you got closer to where you want this team to be?
You know, I think it was the first time that we really locked in and played defense. And I thought that was the difference in the second half. You know, defensively, I thought we did a really good job of in our man-to-man defense. You know, I think you know, when we broke it down, I think our man defense, you know, towards the end was really good. You know, we just, like, again, those 2 rebounds. But, you know, again, we got to do it again. We got to come out. We know we can do it. We know we can play defense. We know we can be a better team. We know this. And it's, you know, we just don't have time. You know, we're playing against guys every night and good teams every night. It's no off night. So we got to continue to get better on that. But, you know, it was a step in the right direction that they can see that they can do it and how much effort it takes. And if you just stay disciplined and locked in, that it can be done.
Coach, on the inbounds pass late from Jaquan to Chris in the corner, what did you see there in terms of that play breaking down?
You know, I didn't get a good look at it. It looked like he was wide open. I don't know what happened. Seemed like he might have stopped. He didn't kind of move to the ball. You know, that was, again, we got to complete that. Whether it's a shot or not, we can't turn it over down there. And again, we had critical turnovers. We had 11, but man, it was all at the wrong time. Wrong time, and we can't do that. That's just unacceptable. But I thought, from my view, it looked like someone deflected it. But when I talked to all the other coaches, they said he was wide open. We didn't move to the ball. He didn't get it right where he wanted it at, and it was a turnover. So again, y'all might be able to correct me. I didn't see it from my view. It looked like it got tipped, but obviously it didn't.
Yeah, Adrian, I know I hear all that you're saying about, you want to win and all that, but the second half defense was the best defense you guys have played this year. And I'm curious about what has happened since the last game to this game. What specifically did you want your guys to do better, and what did you think they did better in the second half of this game?
I thought we were more connected. I thought we were in our gaps. I thought we didn't get extended. Typically I thought that we plugged the holes, was nowhere to go when the guy was putting on the floor. We had guys there. And that's what we've been talking about. Now, we just really worked hard. Donna, you seem like it's a big leap, but leaps are small improvements every day, every game, even when people can't see them. Right? Each game, we slowly got better in certain little areas, even though, it didn't show up big. And I thought today it kind of came together, especially in the second half, more consistently for a longer period of time. And we got to keep building on that. We work really hard on defense. We really do. We put a lot of effort into it. And I think these guys are, hopefully, they got it on film now that they can do it and it can be done. And, we just got to keep building on it.
Coach, how hard is it when you guys get behind 9-0 right away, right off the bat, and you guys are kind of down double digits throughout the first half? How hard was it to try and kind of dig yourself out of that hole, and kind of how did you sort of do that in the second half?
I mean, if you watch our first 3 or 4 games, we've been down. This is the one thing I'll say about this group. They keep their composure and they keep battling. All right, so we've been down 9. A couple of games this year early, and so again, we kept our composure. We had great shots, great looks, right in the beginning. We missed them, and we still not shooting the ball the way we know we can shoot the ball. But they were all good shots, and typically, when you're getting good shots, it allows you to kind of, stay confident. It wasn't like we got bad shots. We drove in there a couple of times because we wanted to put pressure on the rim, and we didn't get the call, but that happens. But I like the way we were getting shots. I like our aggressiveness, and I kept telling the guys, hey, those shots are going to start falling. And then obviously we stayed with it. We switched up some defenses, got a couple of stops, and we got out and got a couple of easy ones in transition, and that's what we needed. And I thought that kind of got us going.
Coach, defensively, you guys also played some zone. Was that something you anticipated coming into the game, or was that sort of a heat-of-the-moment decision?
No, we work on it. We work on it. We knew, Texas is an explosive team, and, we just wanted to give them some different looks. Again, they were very, especially in transition. I thought our transition defense was probably the best it's been all year. And so, coming into the game, I'm not against the zone. That's not what this is about. But, I thought we worked at it. It looked good. I thought this would be a good game for it. Again, I'm going to do whatever it takes to give us the best chance to win. And, so again, today I thought the zone was part of the game plan to help us win. Try to win.
Coach, I think for the season you're around 25% from deep, or 27% from deep. I guess this is kind of a generic question. When do you say to yourself, "This is who we are," or do you think, you said you were getting good shots, but they're not falling. So do you think the capability is there for those to go down more, or at what point do you say, okay, this isn't working, maybe we have to approach offense a little differently?
I'm very confident in these guys. We work a lot at it. I've seen it. Again, and I think we got the right guys taking the shots. We got Chris Bell, who we all know, gets the majority of our shots. JJ, those are the 2 guys that we want taking the shots. Elijah Moore, and the other guys, they taking 1 or 2. So we got the right guys taking the shots. They're just not making them now. Now, when you don't have the guys that, can't make the shots, taking shots, that's the problem, right? But in today's game, we can't just, shut down and try to do something different. Again, I think we have a good balance. We're scoring inside. Now we got to get our outside going. And I thought we had good shots in the beginning of the game. We just didn't make them, and we got the right guys taking them. So I'm okay with that.
Time for one more.
Coach, free throws have been kind of a struggle all season so far and definitely showed its face tonight. How do you explain those free throw struggles overall, especially tonight?
You got to make them. You got to make them, and we work at them, and we got to make them, and we're not. We're leaving so many points on the board, even losing, just leaving a lot of points out there. Even in our first couple of games, we still miss free throws, and that's the difference. Again, we're offensively we haven't played well all year yet. We just haven't. Defensively tonight was a step in the right direction. But we just got to keep going, keep building. But free throws is something that we have to make them. It's not an excuse for that, and that was the game. If you look at right now for 9 for 18, that's just too many misses. We have to make those. We work at them. We just got to continually work at them, they have to start. We have to start making them if we want to win.
Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
Our locker room will be open. We're in the New York.
All right, that is Coach Autry as we welcome you back in on the postgame show, wrapping things up here. And by the way, it looks like St. Joe's is going to take a halftime lead against Texas Tech. Of course, the Orange are playing tomorrow night. We know they are starting at 7, ESPN2, same deal, Barclays Center. St. Joe's is leading Texas Tech 33-26. There's a little over 4 minutes to play in the first half in that second game. So that will be an upset for St. Joe's. If St. Joe's wins, of course, the Orange will play Texas Tech. That'll be the third all-time meeting between the Cuse and Texas Tech. Last time they played them, they got their one win in the two innings so far against Bobby Knight in 2005 in a game at a neutral site where Syracuse just blew the doors off of them. That was back in 2005. Orange have not played St. Joe's since 2007, 4-4 all-time against the Hawks. So we'll see if it's ESPN tomorrow night. Maybe it's ESPN or ESPN2. I don't know. We're getting a commenter. Coach D says ESPNU. It's on one of the channels tomorrow night. We'll see if it is St. Joe's or if it's Texas Tech. Of course, the loser will meet the Orange tomorrow night. But that's going to wrap things up on the Burdick postgame show. The Orange falls 70-66. Coach Autry not pleased. They're missing shots. They're missing free throws. 9 for 18 from the line. 5 for 21 from 3. I do feel like listening to Red there, my final thought here, we're spending so much oxygen on the defense and talking about that. The offense has got to start making some shots. So we'll see if they do hit some shots tomorrow night for what will really be the first game all season. Remember that exhibition game? They made 14 threes. They haven't even sniffed that, and It's got to probably start with Chris Bell hitting some more threes. He was 2 for 6. Starling was 2 for 8. But we'll be back, same routine for a same tip time tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Brian on the pregame. Brian will have his show, so basically 4 to 7. You'll hear Brian. Orange Nation gets going with Jordan filling in for Pauly. It'll be Steve and Jordan again for a Friday Orange Nation 12 to 2. And we will get you the postgame show as soon as this one ends. Oh, Pauly is hosting, I hear. Jordan, he's going to be hosting from his hotel. So Pauly, who was at the Barclays Center, I'm sure you're all eager to hear Pauly's thoughts in person on this one. He'll be breaking it down tomorrow. So normal crew on Orange Nation tomorrow, and I'll be back for the postgame tomorrow night. Thanks to everyone in the chat. Thanks to all the callers, even Chris from Syracuse, who wanted Coach Autry fired after a strong second half. But we will talk to you tomorrow on CuseSportsTalk.com and ESPN Radio.